But this was an adult, who was violent.
Now he's not.
Usually your autistic children aren't violent like that. Mainly Down syndrome children are violent. So I have a feeling he is both autistic and have some form of Down syndrome.
Have you ever considered doing any kind of a documentary or something like that?
No, because what I've seen is the government comes in and starts interfering. Those people are doing well. So I have to keep everything confidential now.
Because I was just curious, I recently was introduced to the Gerson therapy, and I know that's different than what you're doing, but it is definitely, definitely sounds like a health-giving route. Might work for some people. No?
Used to,
doesn't it?
When Max was around, raw liver was the main part of the diet. And now that his daughter, what's her name? Charlotte. Now that Charlotte took over, she took the raw liver out of it about 18 years ago, because of the expense and the hardship of getting good liver. That's a cop-out. She can get it very easily. And Charlotte's not a healthy person. She's also very hyper and violent. No, it worked very well when Max was around because almost 2/3 of the diet was the raw liver. Now, it doesn't even exist as part of the Gerson therapy.
He did steak tartare every afternoon.
Pardon?
He did steak tartare in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And
Well, he did, but he
liver
didn't
and
prescribe it. He prescribed the raw liver. Yeah.
raw liver.
Yeah. Okay. Do we pass the bowl around for the 40?
Oh yeah, let me get that.
Okay.
You know what, I'm just going to write you a check at the end, since I'm coming for a consult. I'm just going to write you a check.
Okay, all at once?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yours would be $355 altogether.
No, it's sweet. I'm just coming for a meeting.
Oh, you're coming for a mini?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's
I'll
right.
get your memory check.
So if you can pass that around, just put your...
Let me tell you, I have so much going.
For the talk today.
It's $40 for the Q&A.
Do you take check or checking cash, or you just...
Either
Either?
check or cash, as long as I can't dribble the check. Of all the people, all the checks that are written to me, only about one a year is bounced. They always claim it's a bank. Well, I think this is the smallest group we've had. Can't even call it a group.
Yeah. No, we've had them like this.
Oh, we had 6
No,
months.
this is the smallest.
It always used to be lighter in summer.
This, this is August. Definitely. August is vacation time. Just Aajonus would have been enough. Nobody else has that name in this country.
How did you pick it?
I didn't-
Hercules or something?
No. I was illustrating some children's educational books that were multilingual, and they were geared around self-teaching language by an image. And because I was autistic, this psychologist who had gone through shock therapy for a nervous breakdown. She had like 4 doctorates and just had a breakdown. Of course, who doesn't have a breakdown when you're trying to intellectualize everything?
Mm-hmm.
And she lost all language. She had to relearn. So in her relearning, she found a quicker and better way to relearn. And because I was autistic, we understood immediately how to do it. So out of my first 22 illustrations, we took them down to Union School downtown, and we took 2 to 4-year-olds that couldn't read, write, or spell, and used the images, and out of the first 22, 20 were perfect. Every child got what the word was, just from the image. And this one little girl, 2.5-year-old, would say, "I'm going to write your name." It used to be scribble as she went around the room. When she got to me, she scripted out, Aajon. I put the U.S. on the end, because French names, I like the sounds of French, but a little too soft for me, so I like Greco-Roman style, so I put the U.S. on it. And that's how I got it. And then, about 9 years ago, a Greek scholar, a fellow who was studying languages in Greece, had gotten my book, and he sent me a photocopy of a page of a dictionary, Greek dictionary from 96, something like that. And there was my name with one different letter spelling, and it meant unbreakable. It's a word they use for help. In Greece. Yeah. Up until 1920, they used Aajonus for help. That was the word for help.
Perfect name.
Aajonus was help. But I said, that doesn't fit me because I've been broken many times, and the word means unbreakable. I'm just unlike Humpty Dumpty. I can be together.
But ultimately, you're unbreakable because you keep coming back.
But I can repair, unlike Humpty Dumpty.
Right.
Put you back together again.
Can't fix a shell, but you can fix a live tissue. So that's how I got the name.
People ask me that every time I do
Yeah?
a book. I can never answer it. So.
Now you know.
Now I know.
Okay, what I want to talk about first is, the injections. I don't know how many of you know that I was subdued in a hotel room over 2 years ago, right after I interfered with the swine flu vaccine commercials. I guess you don't. In February 2009, they were manufacturing the H1N1 vaccine, which at that time they were calling swine flu. And because I had been through the whole swine flu caper of 1976 with Ida Honoroff and Mary McBean, MD, was from here in San Diego. She proved that the two of them proved that the swine flu was a hoax back then. It was just to generate money and to get a lot of people to take the swine flu and get sick, and then it would just generate more and more money for the pharmaceutical industry. And they wrote a book called Vaccines: A Clear and Present Danger, and it logged a lot of the information about the swine flu and what it was, what it had in it, and that it couldn't possibly be a problem. They also showed that any kind of flu changes form in 3 days. So if you manufacture a flu vaccine, it takes a minimum of 18 months to manufacture a market, get it out there on the market. So you're looking at 18 months. Well, that's long after your 3 days. So they proved that the swine flu, any flu vaccine, is a hoax. Any vaccine for a flu, any kind of a virus, is a hoax, because it's all completely changed in 72 hours. So I gave all that information on an international radio program in February of 2009. And man, it went worldwide, and everything I said started being reiterated all over the world. And this famous rap group from UK took my word, some of my sentences, and put it in a rap song called "Just Say No to the Vaccine." Run 7 minutes 32 seconds. I think you can still see it online if you put in swine flu, just say no to the vaccine, YouTube video, and you'll come up with it and you can watch it. And they spent over $1 million putting this video together. They've got cuts of children being injected, and then the Asian grandparents coming and chopping off the arm because they know it will poison the body. And for them, they could see the poisoning going into the system, so they felt it was better to chop the arm off than let that poison completely contaminate the body. So that was happening very big in Asia, like in Cambodia and Laos. And they have shots of all kinds of things in 7 minutes and 32 seconds. You never see a shot that went over 10 seconds. And you've got 7 minutes 32 seconds of time. So they spent a lot of money on that, and it went wild. There were over 9 million views, and then people, told other people about it. So I got death threats for about 5 weeks about that, for doing that. And it says, what I said in the show goes right into the radio show, went right into the video. It said the only way you can get swine flu is to get swine flu vaccine.
Yes.
Yeah. It has to be injected into you. So they put that in there. So I went to Philippines on the 6th week, and in the 7th week, 2 men subdued me in a hotel room and injected me with 3 shots. And I just happened to wait during the time it was happening. And I didn't wait till I was halfway sitting up. Cloth was falling off my face. These 2 thugs on either side of me, just like clean-looking CIA, big guys though, big brutish guys. And they were white, they weren't Filipino. And one hypodermic was hanging from my arm, and because the other guy let go of the right, his right hand was on that, left arm was holding my right arm, and he grabbed the cloth that was falling out my face and put it over my mouth and nose again, and I was out second and a half. Ether, when I used to have that as a kid, it would take 13, 14 seconds to put me out, 12 at the least. And this took 1.5 seconds to put me out. It was odorless, so I had no idea what it was. And then there were 2 hypodermics right here on the bed, right next to me. So when I woke the next morning, I thought it was just a bad dream until I rolled over. And then I was achy and sick all over. I looked over and there were 3 lumps with the injection holes. And within about 12 hours, I started breaking out as if I had been hit by shrapnel. Oh, sores opened up. So I've got these huge scars. It looks like I got hit by a grenade. And, all over my body. And most of it was coming out my leg, here. So all these scars are from that. The gray, this was completely gray all around. This whole leg was gray as this right here is. And that was all mercury. It's part of whatever they injected into me. And I assumed it was a swine flu. What they wanted to see, this guy got the swine flu and he died from it. But I didn't die because I knew what happened. And I knew what to do about it. Just like the body uses ammonia to keep the red blood cells from passing into the kidney, I wanted to use ammonia to make sure the blood barrier was protected. So I went out, I was dizzy, I was vomiting, diarrhea, I was passing out every few minutes, every probably 7 to 10 minutes. I would, start getting very dizzy and nauseous at the same time, go down and hit my knees and just pass out on the floor. So I got a driver to take me after I went through 24 hours of this, and went to different wharfs looking for shark or stingray, because they produce a lot of ammonia once they're dead. So I found a stingray that had been dead for 24 hours, and they don't have freezers there to just pack things, ice around, and things sit in or around ice. So it was getting pretty high in ammonia. You can die by eating too much ammonia, even if it's from, a shark or stingray. So I had to regulate how much I could eat, by the hours and get through it. And it took about 6 months for these sores, big open oozing sores all over. I've got massive scars everywhere. They're just coming out. The big ones are on my back and legs, both legs. And then every April on the anniversary, it'll start breaking out again. So it'll start on the arms and neck and head, and then go down and stay in the feet. It'll stay up on top of the body for about 2-3 weeks only, and then it'll pass into the legs and stay there for months. So up until about 3 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, I was breaking out since April on mainly this foot. So you can see all these little brown spots if you look all over. Each one of those was one of those drainage sites. This one became tumorous. These two became tumorous. This one got about this big as a tumor. It would only take about 7 or 8 days to get that way. And I was traveling in Asia at the time, so it was hard to, take care of myself the way I would normally would in traveling. So I would take like a bucket, a garbage can in a hotel room, and take their, hot water kettle or their coffee maker, and fill it with water, and then pour it in until I got enough to fill it up to here. And then I would soak it for 3 to 5 hours at a time with coconut cream and maybe some coconut vinegar, and a little bit of sea salt, and some milk, raw milk. And I would let it soak for 3 to 5 hours. And the next day, no matter how many of the times this one became a very large tumor that would take up, 2/3 of my foot, it would be gone the next day. The next day from soaking it for 3 to 5 hours. So then I got even more lazy. I would let it get huge. Sometimes go 2 weeks before I did it. It was almost a challenge, Can I dissolve it in 24 hours? A tumor this big, and I mean solid and hard as rock. And just dissolve in 24 hours. So, every time. So, it's still just slightly active right here. But that's the benefit of soaking. What I found was soaking. And I had one woman in Chicago that returned when I was there 2 months ago. And when she came to me 3 years ago, she was all crippled in the feet. She had rheumatoid arthritis, and her knees were about this big, and her elbows were like that too, and she had a mineral deposit the size of a baseball, hardball, and all of her knuckles were really big, and she was unable to even feed herself, so her husband did everything. Husband, a big, strong fellow, so he didn't mind. He loved her a bunch, still loves her a bunch, so he took care of her. And then that was for 3 years, and then she came to me in that shape, in a wheelchair, unable to stand, unable to walk, unable to feed herself because of the pain and crippled of her joint, crippling in her joints. So at the first year I put her on the diet, she came back. She was able to feed herself after a year, was able to stand a little bit. And then the second year she came back. She was doing a little bit better. Most of the swelling went down by 50%. And I had instructed her to do the hot baths 5 days a week, 90 minutes time. Of course, her husband has to put her in, has to take her out. It's a lot of work. So they maybe did it 2 days a week. And when she came last year, it was her second year on the diet, and doing better, everything getting better, able to stand. I said to her husband, I said, listen, if you want this to take 5-6 years for her to be self-sufficient, keep on like you're doing. But if you want her to get well in a year, have her walk into me next year, you need to make sure she has a hot bath 90-minute bath every day. All as well as doing the diet. So he did it. She came back in walking, knees completely normal. Just her joints and her hands are not normal yet, but she went back to playing cards. And 3 years ago when she went on the diet, she hadn't played cards with her friends for 3 years. And she told them by phone, I'm on this new diet. It's a dangerous diet. You'll be dead very quickly, all this stuff. Now that she went back to playing cards 3 months ago, able to shuffle and deal and handle the cards beautifully, even with the slight bit of swelling that's still in the joints, that in the hands only. That one whole knot the size of a hardball disappeared in the baths in 1 year. So that is what hot baths for extended periods can do. Consider that normally a healthy human and any primate will discard 90% of their toxins out the skin. And if the lymphatic system is blocked because of trans fatty acids over the years, margarines and all of the cereals and potato chips and chips of all kinds, with that hydrogenated vegetable oil, it makes a waxy plastic, literally plastic fat that blocks the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system dumps its waste products under the skin to be perspired. And most people don't do that. So they need to soak in a hot tub for a long period of time. Now this woman had a hot tub. I insisted they get a hot tub in this situation. And they did get a hot tub because you can keep the temperature exactly at one level. You don't have to worry about getting hot and cold in a bathtub. So it's much more efficient to keep it at a regular temperature, and it works more efficiently. So now I've had not as dramatic as that, but in those particular cases where people did it, all dramatic experiences. Every one of them are, in their own case, remarkable. So I can't get over stressing the importance of hot baths, especially in a hot tub where you can keep the temperature regulated. We are jammed from head to toe. Our lymphatic systems are jammed to head and toe with garbage food and chemicals. And the only way to melt it and get it out of the body is to get that body up to about 105, 108 degrees for extended periods of time and let it flow. Okay, now I'll take Q&A. Yes?
What about infrared sauna, using an infrared sauna?
Very bad. Infrared sauna goes anywhere from 137 to 152. And that is too hot. It damages the vitamins, the enzymes, and other nutrients under the skin. It severely damages the eyes, the mucous membranes in the ears, throat, lungs, bronchioles, everywhere. So, and plus, it's an air pocket, so it causes mass dehydration in the body. If you're in a tub, you perspire a lot, definitely, and it keeps you at a high temperature. In the sauna, the only heat that will burn is that goes into the lungs. If you get into a hot bath or a hot tub, you notice that if you move just even a little bit, the warmth is right there. It's within, a half inch of your skin. When you're in an airfield, it's almost 6 to 12 inches space. So you have to move a whole 6 to 12 inches to feel the heat right up against you, whether it's steam or dry, like in a sauna. So the only way that you can do it properly and get the internal body heated enough without getting over 108 to 100 degrees, where the damage starts in the skin, is in hot water.
So a steam room isn't good either then?
Steam room is even worse. 212 degrees or higher, that steam goes down and does massive amount of damage. And that water is distilled water, and that just eats away the system, thims the mucus.
Somebody died not long ago that was trying to make a world record on that.
A lot of people have died trying to do the steam one. A lot of people. In Switzerland, it was real big. People were dying left and right.
There's that guy in Phoenix, too, that had a kind of quasi... I think he's in jail now. But
And?
He had people staying there for way past what they should have.
And you can only stay in there 7-10 minutes maximum, and then that's not enough time. It takes 90 minutes at 105 to 108 degrees to get to the lymphatic system, start to begin melting it. And it does every day, for years to do it properly. So, okay. Do you have a question outside of this?
Oh, I've read we all have plastics in our body, and so to use the sauna is to sweat that out. Are you saying the hot tub can do the same thing?
No, the sauna does not do it correctly without severe damage. The hot tubs do it properly.
It does do.
Yeah. I've seen people try, using a sauna for that. And of course, it will get right underneath the skin going, but then over a period of 6 to 8 years, it damages their skin. They stop perspiring properly because you scarred the skin, and you created a problem. So I've seen that. But people who take the hot baths or hot tubs, their results are 5 to 12 times better without the damage the saunas cause and steam baths cause. Do you have a question?
I do. My question is, I've been taking the 90-minute baths about 3 days a week for the last 9 months. And a couple of weeks ago, after taking one, I got out of the tub and I felt very weak, so I sat down on the toilet seat there and I called Richard, my husband, and I said, can you get me to bed? I really feel weak. So I stood up and immediately fainted and didn't even remember hitting my head on the floor, but it bothered me for about 2 weeks. So anyway, I finally recovered from that. I'm playing tennis 3 days a week now, and I find that it's really hard for me to stay hydrated. I get up at 6:30 in the morning and I have my green juice, and an hour later I have my meat meal, which is usually chicken and the moisturizing formula, and maybe 8 ounces of milk. And then I go to play tennis, and so I take with me the sport tray. And
How much? Quart?
well, I take 2, 8, 8, 16, what's that, a pint? 16 ounces?
2 16 ounces, 32 a quart.
Yeah, do I take that much? Maybe not quite that much. But, and so I drink that in between, when we switch sides. But then it seems like it doesn't give me enough relief, so I started, drinking the water out of the, I know you don't want me to, but and then
Just do 2. You're a larger person. You're taller. So do 2, I do 2 quarts of milk a day. And if I'm in Philippines climbing mountains in that heat, I will have 1 to 2 sport formulas a day.
So how many,
How much
so
is
if
the
I
sport
just keep
formula?
drinking the sport formula every time I switch sides, you think that's, what happens to me is I start to get so weak, and I got, like now, I'm so hot. I get up, this morning I got up, and I felt great, I had a green juice, I went out and walked for half an hour, I came back, and then I just start feeling really hot and tired and weak. What's going on?
Why would you do a green drink and go exercise?
Well, I know, because it's the first meal of my day. And I wanted to go walk before I
There's no
got started.
nutrient. There's only vitamins and enzymes. There's no fuel in a vegetable juice. You need to put maybe 2 or 3 eggs in your vegetable juice and go exercise if you want to do that.
Okay, so what am I going to eat when I'm playing tennis? What should I... You're
Well,
saying just the
do you have
sport
eggs in your sport drink?
drink? No.
Okay, it should be 2 or 3 eggs in your sport drink.
Okay.
Per quart?
Yeah.
Per quart.
And you think that'll be sufficient?
Change everything. Yeah. And just remember, when you get dizzy, that means you got very low blood
I
sugar.
don't get
by that
dizzy.
time.
I don't really get dizzy. But
We passed out.
Well, I got that's the only time, and I really didn't get dizzy. I was just weak.
Well, you just don't know. Your body just doesn't know dizzy, maybe, because when you're that weak, you have to move like a turtle in slow motion. You can't move fast.
Well,
You will
that
pass
was
out.
at that time, but like I say, after I played 2 sets of tennis and going into the 3rd set, I'm just kind of there and now I'm hesitant to go play because I'm like, can I stand on the court long enough?
Just have your eggs in it. The 2 champion in 2009, the 2 number 1 champions in high school tennis were both on the diet, on primal diet. Walker Kieran and Karine, however you say it, Kirene, and Walker is his name, and then Valerie Mysick. And what they do is they take the sport drink with them, and they sip it 1 to 2 quarts. But usually, as teenagers, they only used a quart. And their opponents would be drinking all this water, like a gallon and a half of water in 5-hour periods. They'd have maybe 1 quart of this sport drink, and they'd just be going and going and going. But they had the eggs in.
So if I want to keep hydrated all during the day, let's say, so like
You
now,
can sip on that all day long,
sip
but
on it all day long.
milk is also important. You can take a sip of milk and a sip of your sport drink.
okay.
Will you
So you
read that
go
recipe
together?
again?
You could even have, instead of whey, you could put milk in there if you wanted more energy. See, you're very thin. I know you don't think you are, but you do not have a lot of fat in your muscles. So your muscles get low on fuel pretty quickly.
I don't have a lot of muscle. Just being candid. So I wish I knew how to build it.
Yeah, but most of the way you have is under the skin, so it's toxic waste that's not being removed. You may have to do, the hot baths every day, if you really want to move that quicker.
Yeah, I have in mind. I just thought after I fainted that day, I just didn't take anymore because I'm like, God, I want to be fainting every time I get out of the bathtub.
Well, you're going to be weak,
Yeah.
unless you have the egg in it. Well, I have a lot of people who get out of the hot baths and ready to go work out. They've been doing it for a while.
Oh, okay.
But they also use the egg in the sport drink.
Well, I'm using the recipe that you gave me for the sport drink, which was a cucumber, tomato.
But you didn't tell me you were playing
Well, I wasn't when you
out.
gave it to me. I wasn't
Okay,
playing.
yeah.
I was the person, just so you people know, I was the person that he's a little bit describing with rheumatoid arthritis, who woke up one morning and was all swollen and couldn't lift the sheets off my bed. After a month, I couldn't lift the sheets. I couldn't hardly walk downstairs. I had to take one step at a time. And 2 years later, I'm playing tennis 3 days a week. So that's a testimonial to that I am.
Will you give that sport drink recipe again? Because some people here don't have it.
Well, the sport drink can be 3 cups of one of these 4 things or a multiple of them. You have watermelon while it's in season. Now that causes more perspiration than any other fruit, any other food. Then you have cucumber, then tomato, and whey. So you can have 1 cup of 3 of those 4. You can choose. Or you could do 2 cups of watermelon and 1 cup of cucumber. But everything but the whey is pureed. Of course, whey is already liquid, so. And for those people who don't know, I'm not talking about that powdered garbage in health food stores. I'm talking about the liquid runoff for making cheese. That's fresh whey. Like at this time, use 2 cups of watermelon puree, either 1 cup of tomato or 1 cup of cucumber puree, and then 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 2 tablespoons of honey. If you get too thirsty, sometimes it's better just cut down to 1 tablespoon. However, if you're doing a lot of athletics, then you want 3 tablespoons of honey. And then 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 1 tablespoon of lemon, 2 tablespoons of coconut cream, 2 tablespoons of dairy cream, and 2 to 4 eggs, depending on the size of eggs and how much work you are. If you're playing tennis, very tough sport. Basketball, very tough. Soccer, very tough. Volleyball, very tough and exhausting. So all those I would use 4 eggs. Now that would give you a quart, of course, again, depending upon the size of eggs. If you're under a quart, then just add some mineral water, good mineral water, bring it up to a quart. And if you're heavy into sports and you're doing the hot baths, you may need 2 of those a day.
Okay. And is it okay to drink if you're going to drink some water? I started drinking a little bit of the mineral water just because it had sodium in it, because I thought maybe that would help keep me awake. So is it okay to have some mineral water also that you're drinking?
You mean like Perrier with high sodium?
Well, Pellegrino.
That's fine, yeah. But I like people to stay away from water, but if you're doing hot baths, you're going to need at least a half a cup of water a day.
When you're in the hot bath, are you...
That's not the time to do, water. That's the time to be doing a sport drink You do your pineapple before you get into it.
Yeah, I do the meal that you have in the book with the pineapple and that mixture. I do that as I get into the bath.
Then you should have 2 cups of the sport drink water in the bath. If you're doing 90 minutes, you could do 3 cups. You're sipping it every few minutes.
Okay.
Sip it. And then at the end, you still need to do, another cup of the sport drink afterwards. And then you could do probably, about 2-3 ounces of water. But mix it in with the sport drink. Don't drink it by itself.
So how much also was the sports drink when you do a hot bath?
Well, you need 1 quart.
Okay.
But if you're into athletics,
I've been doing half of it. Maybe that's causing me.
that's not enough hydration. Well, you're only doing a 45-minute bath.
40.
40 minutes.
And I had
So
some water on before.
It's okay. But I mean, when I do those hot baths, sometimes I go to a hot springs and I'll do 6-7 hours in a day of the, and I'll go through sometimes 3 of those sport drinks in 7 hours, plus my 2 quarts of milk that I normally have. To rehydrate the cell. But you're not going to rehydrate the system with plain water. Water has no nutrients. So the body cannot absorb the water without nutrients in it. If it does, it just dries it out. Instead of hydrating, it causes dehydration. So normally, all foods contain a lot of water when they're raw. In fact, even meat's 55% water, minimum. When it's been dried and cut and carried around for a while, but when you first butcher an animal, it's like 70% water. And then fruits and some of your bland fruits and other fruits are 93% water. But still, nutrients bound, in the water. You've got vitamins, you've got enzymes, you've got proteins, carbohydrates, you've got every nutrient that's in that food in that water. It's not just dry, vacant water that will cause, deficiencies in the body. So that's what you want to concentrate on. I haven't had water for over a week and it's summertime. I probably have a half a cup a week. And in the winter and fall and early spring and late summer, I don't drink any water. I have 2 quarts of milk a day and, whatever food I'm eating. And when I'm very active, I'll have a sport drink. If I'm in the hot tub a lot, then I have several sport drinks plus my 2 quarts of milk. Never dehydrate. So remember, never gulp. You gulp and a lot of that water washes into the kidney, and then you don't have H2O to transport with the nutrients to the cells, and that causes dehydration. So you sip, never more than 3 tablespoons at a time. You can do that every few minutes. I mean, if we were healthy, let's say like, the Aborigines who still live in the wild and eat mostly raw, and all the Africans, and I was with them in South Africa in May, and they don't drink water. They say it's stupid to drink water because you just cause more dehydration. So they rip the roots off of, plants or break them in 2 and take the vegetable juice. That's what they use. And they're so healthy, they're not full of the toxins that we are, so they don't need all that extra fluid that we do. But we need, mineral and vitamin-rich, nutrient-rich fluids, not deficient water. Okay?
Okay,
That was
just
a
one
long answer.
Yeah, one more just real quick thing. When I ordered from Thailand the air tube for the phone that you recommended, I also ordered a product they have called cocoa soap. Do you know it?
Yeah.
And is that okay to use for washing my hair and taking a shower, and it's just coconut oil?
No, it's got some lye in it.
Okay, it doesn't say that, but...
But that's what it is. It's the coconut. They make the coconut oil, and
Yeah,
I supervise the way they do it.
yeah.
And they just put lye in it to harden it. It's okay.
So I can use...
I just use coconut cream as my soap. I ferment it and then use that. But if you want to use that, it's okay.
It's fine, okay, it's not too dry.
It is drying. Lye is drying.
Okay.
To get it to solidify into that
Right.
substance.
Bar.
But, like when I'm in Thailand, that's what I have my girlfriend use because she has to use soap. So, she uses that soap. That's a better soap than any other. Because the only thing in it is coconut oil and raw coconut oil and some lye.
Thank you.
Do you have a question?
I don't, but can I pass on my question back to Rosalind, who had a question about casein?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Well, you talk a lot about dairy. There's a lot of people that have intolerance or allergies, and I was tested a few years back, and it was severe in the casein. And I don't drink milk, so I waited another year, was tested again, and it was still severe in it.
Well, anytime you have an allergy test for anything, they've taken a processed protein to do that. So if you're eating pasteurized dairy, if you're eating homogenized dairy, you're going to have a casein problem and even a lactate problem. But if you're drinking raw milk, you won't have that problem except if you're drinking it cold.
Well, the thing is, the casein is the protein, so in my mind, it doesn't matter if it's raw or pasteurized because it's the protein. So if the protein...
Have you ever looked at it under a microscope, the difference between
No, this is what I'm trying to find answers, but no, that was
You warp a molecule of protein, when you look at a protein under a microscope, whether it's raw or otherwise, just like vitamin C, you look at its little soft spongy ball.
Mm-hmm.
Then once they take that same protein that same vitamin C from a food, and they make it into a supplement, it looks like glass. And it's large, spiky things. It's nothing, no relationship to what it was when it was unheated and unprocessed. And the same with proteins. They take on a whole new shape, and it's entirely a different thing. It's like going in, if you had a Rolls Royce, would you go into a junkyard and get a part out of it that had been burned up and distorted? I had in Singapore, I've got a whole slew of Chinese people there who are on the diet. Asians are 86% lactose intolerant and casein intolerant. Every one of these Chinese people eats the raw milk from Australia. And none of them has a problem. They even put it on the cover of the Chinese newspaper there. Full color. They even put my books on there. What a pitch. And they had all these skinny, weak Chinese people, puffed up and looked like Americans, who were healthy. So they did a whole spread on it. I have not met anybody who's allergic, who has any kind of an allergy to raw dairy. Now, sometimes the cooked casein and lactate may have collected in a body. And they will show symptoms of a lactate or casein intolerant when they first start drinking the raw milk. That's why I say in my book they should be drinking 2 ounces at a time, 4 ounces a day, or just 2 ounces a day for 3 months. That'll all be gone. So I have not met one person, and I've met 30,000 who do this diet with milk, and many of them were intolerant to any kind of dairy until they had it raw.
Let's bring another thing to the gut, and if they say if you heal the gut, then it won't go through, like leaky gut, it won't go through the gut wall, and then you won't be, then you won't be allergic to it. So I know that was another theory too. So.
Well, there are some people who have leaky gut, and those are most people who have Crohn's disease. And almost everybody like 85% of the people who have arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis or rheumatism have leaky gut. But that's just a thinning of the mucus to where they don't protect their intestines anymore. So their own digestive acids and bacteria eat into their intestines, and the wall becomes thinner and thinner. And then when they eat, the gut rips, and then food goes in. But it doesn't matter what kind of food. It doesn't matter if it's dairy or what. They're going to have an allergy to it. But what the body does is send it to the joints, mainly the knees first, hip, elbows, or shoulder next. and in 80% of the cases that I've seen, goes to the knees first, turns that into a digestive site. So because, like the stomach is very resilient, it forms hydrochloric acid and a dissolved bone, yet it doesn't dissolve its own tissue. That's very resilient tissue. Well, your cartilage is very close to the same. So it can have digestive activity down there, but because there's digestive activity going on there, it'll also start eating away at the cartilage little by little. And that's arthritis, and that's rheumatoid arthritis, and that's rheumatism. So 85% I've seen of those diseases come from leaky gut. And leaky gut is not having enough mucus. And that mostly occurs in people who stay away from things that form mucus. Like milkshakes are the best thing to form mucus. So whenever I have somebody on Crohn's or who has arthritis and rheumatism, I put them on 2 or 3 milkshakes a day. And within a very quick time, their symptoms are mitigated by 85%.
So you can heal the leaky gut.
Oh yeah, leaky gut just needs to start building the mucus. And then eat the raw meats or raw eggs to get those cells to, attach again. So they'll bond, so they'll stop having the leaky gut. But it takes the mucus first to build the wall.
So can that cause kidney stones also?
Oh, so many things can cause stones. That's from any cooked or processed food. You have a fat that's broken away from minerals, and then the minerals collect. And even in the human body, crystals grow outside of the human body in the ground. Geodes are all growth things. You start off with a few minerals, and they'll grow into a huge geode that can be this big. And that's a growth process. And that's one thing that Pasteur was big on, was documenting the growth of crystals. So that can happen from any debased mineral substance in the body. So anything can cause stones. It's just where your body decides to dump them. Does it dump them into the intestines like it does most people and out the bowels, or does it dump into the urinary tract? Not a good place for it to do, but where the body does it in a lot of people. So then you have stones, whether they're bladder or kidney or liver. Stones can form anywhere.
So going back to the raw dairy instead of the pasteurized can help?
It has nothing to do with it.
It doesn't.
If it did, then the Maasai tribe would be full of it. The Fulani tribe would be outrageous with problems because 95% of their diet was milk, raw dairy. And they had no kidney problems, no heart problems, nothing. They had British problems. British came in 50 years ago and tried to turn it into agricultural with plants and grains and stuff like that, because they were living 95% on raw dairy, and they were told that was a bad thing. And now they're a very diseased race. But the British man who was responsible for that admitted about 15 years ago in a documentary that he was the biggest mistake that ever happened, to the Fulani tribe. And he did a whole, you can see the Fulani from the first time he went there till the last time in a 35-year period, how they went downhill with his help, with his instruction, telling them to do things better the way he thought they should be done, the way he was taught. But he didn't learn until 35 years later, till, the whole, they started killing each other, having jealousy, stuff like this. And they weren't like that before. So. Anyway, there's no allergies to anything. The milk is not a problem on its own. It's all the processed stuff that's already in our bodies that's the problem. Okay? Do you have a question, Michael?
Physical therapist recommended shrimp for the exoskeleton to try to digest that. He thought that might be at my back. So
It's possible that it could have some influence on them because they're very mineral concentrated. It hasn't been my experience that it does, a great deal. The hot baths are the best way to get circulation going in the spine, long ones. After the work in the last 3 years, the amount of healing and progress on places like your back and other people have been, where it's taken 20 years to resolve some of that, it can be done in 3 to 5 years now. With hot baths, especially a hot tub where you keep the temperature the same. So I'm now suggesting that everybody take baths, long hot baths, as seriously as you take diet, because it can progress everything very quickly. I'm thinking that, I was sold on the idea to take everybody 40 years to gain optimal health, like the tests of Howell and Pottinger. But with what I've seen in the last 3 years, by doing hot baths intensely with people and the reversals of, just to see a mineral deposit this big disappear in 1 year is astounding. Those things usually don't move. They usually have to be surgically removed. And, hers was gone in 9 months of doing the baths every day, 90 minutes a day. So, and it just isn't her, it's other people too. So I've had I've been studying some people don't do it like they're supposed to, but I had 32 people set up to watch over the last 3 years. And I'd say 28 of them were reliable. And every one of the 28 had progress that was just astounding to me. So I think that the 40 years can be reduced to 15 if somebody will be as diligent with the baths as they are with their food. Think of that, reducing a 40-year process down to 15 years.
Oh, yeah.
Spectacular. Shit, I waited all this.
I have a question about the baths. You used to tell us to exercise after. Is that still
No.
so? Pineapple?
That was my belief then, but in observing people, I found it wasn't
So it's
necessary.
okay if you lay down after.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get, and that's the other thing, when you start feeling really sick after the bath, because you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's okay to just lay down and go to sleep.
Yeah, I thought it would be the other way. I thought that once you got it moving, you had to keep it moving
so it settles
by
down.
exercise, but I haven't found it's true.
And then the coconut pineapple thing is important to do still with the bath?
In some time of the day.
To break the
Still should
lymphatic
be
down
done in
first?
some time of the
Okay,
day.
with the bath.
But then pineapple can get to be too much. So even though I have people doing the hot baths every day, they may only do the coconut every other day.
And then if you take it a shorter bath, you said it stops the detox? Because sometimes it's like, it gets so hot and you get weak, and then I think, I can't stay another minute, I'm going to pass out in here. And I get out, and then I get back in.
Well, what I've been doing in the past about 6 months is telling people, well, for the last year and a half, I told people to put a cold cloth, get a bowl with ice water in there, and put a cold rag on the head. And so many people it makes it so hard for them to do that. So I said, just get one of those ice packs, put it on top of your head with the ice in it for 45 seconds. Immediately. See, the brain hates to be
Yeah,
overheated.
because else you get dizzy.
And as soon as that brain chills, that body wants to stay in that hot water. So people have no trouble staying in the water just by taking the ice pack and putting it on their head every 15 to 20 minutes for 45 seconds.
Now, once when you did this nice spa, and you said, oh, you can get out a little bit, just don't
Yeah.
cool off too much or something.
Well, that's how I was, I was
Get out.
trying to coach people through it, but I found that wasn't as good.
Okay, so you can get out, but you can get out too in a few minutes, and it's not going to like
It
send
still,
you down,
it
or
still will, yeah, it'll still work, but it'll slow things.
slow things.
But if you can use the ice pack on your head, quick way.
Have you found
it'll
people
stay.
pass out and stuff ever?
Pardon?
Do you ever find people pass out and stuff?
Never,
Never.
not anybody.
You just-
They felt like they would, but nobody
never
ever
have.
has. I go to sleep and I have no trouble. when I was so full of cancer and all of my aches and pains from the radiation in my back, I couldn't sleep 10 minutes without waking up screaming in pain. And then when I learned to lie in the baths, I fell asleep in the baths, even floating. I never drowned once. You hear all this stuff, oh, you'll drown if you go to sleep in the bathtub. Yeah?
I've heard it too.
And I've slept in a bathtub where I could have submerged many times. Well, a couple times I did go under, and, and I woke, and there wasn't water, a little water in my mouth. But, I never got to the point where I drowned. Trying to figure out why that was so funny. But I mean, I've been dead twice, 3 times, and been brought back to life.
When you said you haven't drowned, you came back from drowning. It's just a
Yeah, but I came back from other deaths.
Did you come back from drowning?
You never drowned once.
Right, yeah.
You could have drowned twice.
I could have drowned 3 or 4 times. I mean, I was dead on the operating table twice, and they brought me back to life. I was dead for 6 minutes once.
So maybe you did drown and you just don't know it.
Okay. I don't remember it.
You're talking about an ice pack that you buy? Is that what you're talking about?
No, you get these, they're round, you just stuff ice in them. They're like a little
Hat.
yarmulke.
Yeah.
The
old hangover hat.
Yeah.
I just got an ice cube from what I do. I take ice with me in a jar, and I stick it next to the bathtub. And then when I get too hot, I just put 1 ice cube on top and just let it sit there.
That's all?
That's all I need to cool me off.
Yeah. So
So you don't need this whole pack and all this other stuff. It's just an ice cube. It's good.
I just I don't so like the ice water being on the scalp unless it's good water. If you make good ice cubes, then I'd say it's fine. But if you just make the ice water out from your tap water, not a good idea. You got fluoride, you got all kinds of chemicals, toxins. Your pores go into your scalp.
Let me take some fluoride. I have a system in my purifier in my house, but how come we didn't fight them from putting fluoride back in our drinking water?
Yeah, what do we do about that?
I fought it hard tooth and nail. You have to understand, our government is very ugly.
I know.
They want that fluoride, and they want everybody poisoned and subjective.
Yeah.
I agree with it. That was good too.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, when you looked at me the first time, you said there was nuclear material back in my back.
There was what in your back? Nuclear?
Material.
Okay.
And it's a lump, because they got fat on it. Do you know anybody that you would recommend to cut it out?
You don't want that cut out?
No?
Because you want to keep putting a hot water bottle on it as often as you can, every night, as long as you can.
Okay.
Let it perspire out of the body.
Okay.
Cut that out, and let's say, some of that radioactive material is in some fluid and it gets loose, it could paralyze you. I wouldn't want to take that chance. If it weren't on the spinal cord or around that area, probably wouldn't be a big chance of a problem. That's a dangerous thing there. I've seen too many surgeries end in people being crippled or in a coma for the rest of their lives. Spinal cord, not good. Spinal.
I don't think it's on the spinal cord, it's off to the side of the close.
Very close.
Yeah.
Do you have a question?
Let's switching to like meat. Like if you go to a restaurant that's called Tender Greens, they have. Do you mind if it's cooked, seared, rare? Would that still be considered a rare?
Well,
benefits
the less cooked, the better it's going to be.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it. I go there and I say, give me a raw cold steak on a cold plate. And if they refuse me, I pull out the law. They keep in my glove compartment. I show them the law and say, because they get these they have these health inspectors that tell them lies about what the law is instead of them going reading it. So I'll pull out the law and show it to them and say, yes, you can feed me raw meat as long as the patron asks for it that way, or they have it listed that way somewhere in the restaurant where it can be easily read or on the menu. If that weren't true, there would be no sashimi, there would be no steak tartare, and there would be no carpaccio on any menu.
Now, how about the smoked salmon that you can get in a store? Seal.
Smoked salmon is dehydrated. Any kind of dehydrated food is lacking in enzymes and activity, so it won't be utilized very much. When the Eskimos make their pemmican every year, they make a 90-pound block for each person in case they can't get anything during the winter if they don't find a hunt. So they can't get fish or whatever it is for their food, fresh. They will eat a half a cup of this in a 24-hour period with about 2 cups of water. And they'll have that water over the whole day. They don't drink a lot at one time. And that will help them digest that. But if they go through all the winter without, no matter what they have not eaten during the winter, and usually they don't eat any of it, they know that it's nutrient deficient, so they bury it. They won't eat it. Even though they went through probably 100 hours of labor to make that 90-pound block, they won't eat a bit of it unless they have to. It gets buried in springtime, mid-spring. So any kind of dehydrated is not good, and smoked is worse because you have all those carbon monoxide that have worked their way into the meat. Do you have a question?
I was more wondering about the after Fukushima and all of that, just this kind of odd, people having odd symptoms and...
Well, they're going to be pretty big. They're lying about it.
Well, I realize that, but I was just kind of, I've been doing blue-green algae and various things to do that, but I noticed there's definitely mental focusing is harder to do and various things.
Mm-hmm. Well, the blue-green algae won't do much because they're dried. By the time it gets into your, about to leave your sigmoid colon, it's only been in there for anywhere from 19 to 24 hours, and it just becomes active at that time. So you've got to soak it in water and get it reactivated if you want to get any nutrients from it. But what I suggested in an email that I sent out was everybody put Terramin clay in water and have a premixture made and put a little bit of that into your milk every time. Like my jars of milk over there have about a half a teaspoon of the moist clay active in there. So the probiotics is pulling out the radioactive stuff and it stays at the bottom. And even if I eat it, if I shake it and eat that, it's stuck into the stuff that won't digest. We don't digest rock. We don't digest soil. Plants do. So even if I were to eat the clay that's in the milk, it holds on to the radioactive material and doesn't absorb into my body. Those molecules are too big. We can't break them down. Algae breaks them down, and other plant activity breaks rock down into a utilizable bioorganic substance. We're much different on the food chain. We don't eat rock. So the clay will pull out. Terramin clay is the clay that I suggest. Mm-hmm. And Terra Silk is the product I suggest for eating. And use for your bath and a facial, use the Nutra. The Terramin nutritional variety. The Terra Silk is much finer. Still not going to absorb it, but it can get into finer places to help.
Does it come out of your colon eventually, or does it stay in there?
Oh no, it passes right out.
How long does it take to get clay out?
Well, sometimes when I've done the test to study that in my body, I haven't studied anybody else's fecal matter, but in my body when I've gone 10 days without taking it a day, it doesn't show up after about, I usually have bowel movements between 3 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's never showed up on the second consecutive day, but it may be there at least 26 hours. I mean, as late as 26 hours, 28 hours sometimes. But it's always passed out in that first transit through 19 to 26, 28 hours. You have a question, Joseph?
Yeah. As I understand it, if I'm taking the longer baths, you said that I should be drinking some water? Is that what I heard you say?
Well, everybody should drink a little bit of water every day. Could be, if you're a highly active, like in the sports, or if you have a job that's, construction, then you're going to need anywhere from a half a cup to a cup and a half of water a day, just very little at a time, spread throughout the day. Some people just put their water in their sport drink.
So you
So they don't have to, juggle it.
Separate?
Yeah.
All right.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, a couple of them. Regarding the water, when you talk about not drinking a lot of water or just a little bit or whatever, are you talking about people who live anywhere? Like, say if I live in the desert and I'm sweating up a storm or whatever, I just need more fats and not water, right?
Well, you need more fat and you need a certain amount of fluids, but you can get them from your milk and your sport drink.
So I don't really need to drink
A lot of water. I mean, the healthiest individuals out there don't drink water, like the Aborigines, the Africans. They won't drink water because it just makes them more thirsty and more dehydrated. But they're so healthy they can just drink, like the 2 children and the 3 children in the rabbit-proof fence in Australia when they ran away from the orphanage, when they were taken away from their mothers because they were Aborigine and they were half white, and they had Aboriginal mothers, so the British government, the Australian government, through the auspices of the British government, took those children away. Said that they, because they had partial, royal white blood, that they should not be with the primitive, savage mothers. So they took the children away. So these 3 children ran away from the orphanage. And they went the wrong way on the rabbit-proof fence, the opposite direction, which kept them from getting caught. But they were out there almost 3 months. I think it was 5 months before they made it back home, and they never drank water once. Pop plants, and they, let the vegetable juice drip into their mouths, and that's what they lived on. But these kids were healthy. They grew up that way. We're so sick and we're so full of chemicals that we do need a little bit of water to act as a solvent to dissolve some very toxic compounds. So, but they don't. We do need a little bit of water.
What was the name of that book?
A rabbit-proof fence.
It's a true story too. That's
Yes,
that's
true
really
story.
happened.
Absolutely true.
Lisa and I were kidding around the other day about, fat and all that kind of stuff. Fat deposits on the body. And is there really any difference nutritionally or clinically between, smooth fat and cellulose fat and all that, or is it just all fat?
No, it's all very different. When you have cellulite fat, you have usually trans fatty acids that are bound with the toxin. Fat is meant to bind with your toxins to prevent them from entering a cell, damaging your cell. So everybody needs lots of fat, especially in our toxic world. However, when you've got trans fatty acids, you have a fat that will solidify and crystallize in the body, harden. Because it's a plastic, waxy fat. And at the human body temperature, it solidifies. And an herbivore, temperature of 101 to 105 degrees, that's enough to keep them fluid. But in the human body, they solidify. So when those trans fatty acids are used to bind with the toxin, it becomes solidified. So that's that hardened cellulite fat. And you'll notice that when you go on a good diet like this diet, all of a sudden that will double, triple, quadruple in size. Because it was very hard, the only way to get it out of the body is to dissolve it into a fluid compound to perspire it out of the skin. And without the hot baths, it used to take women 12 to 15 years on this diet to do it. Now, in the last 3 years, I've seen women do it in a year and a half.
Cellulite?
Instead of 7 to 12. You know, all of a sudden the cellulite's gone. You know, and they'll never have cellulite again. Unless they go back to eating trans fatty acids. Chips and cereals and donuts and fried foods. Do you have a question, Lisa?
Yeah.
Oh, thank Lisa as our host again.
When you talk about intuitive eating in your book a lot, you know, you come to a place eventually where you'll crave things you need.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question about cravings. For a long time, for my whole life, I craved tomatoes. And I think it's starting to fade. I just want to eat tomatoes, or cucumbers. I just love cucumbers. And then recently I started craving other vegetables, like beets and butternut squash.
Uh-huh.
But butternut, and I have some butternut squash raw. They have like lemon and all.
Juice it.
Juice it?
Yeah, that's what I do.
Would it be better to juice it? Then why would I not eat some of the vegetables raw that I crave versus juicing?
Because they're highly alkaline vegetation. We don't digest the cellulose in
So if I eat
vegetation.
that butternut raw and it's grated, then it won't digest?
It still won't digest. It takes an herbivore to be able to break down that cellulose. Summer squash is different. Like cucumbers, we can digest a lot of that.
Can I love them raw or juiced?
But other hard squashes, you cannot. Butternut squash, no. So when I was able to get on a farm in Carbondale and pick the vegetables right out of the earth and the butternut squash, I went right to juicing them.
Yeah, and what causes that? Like, I'm at the beach, and I'm sitting behind it, and I'm like, I want some butternut squash. And I'm like, what the heck is that, It's like, and then every day I'm thinking about that food. And is there something
That's just
particular?
your body needs a particular nutrients in that.
But you don't really know what.
But juice it.
Juice the butternut squash. And
Too hard to digest, yeah.
Would you mix it with something else?
Well, I just mix it with all my other juices.
And then I'm craving beet too, so that's just a
Yeah.
little, like,
Yeah.
what, 5-10% beet?
Well, beets help. I know what beets do. They help build the bodies hydrochloric acid.
Yeah, 'cause I'm not craving very much meat. I mean, I'm eating it, but it's not like
Well, that helps digest it.
So that's because, like, a lot of times too, you don't crave protein when you get too alkaline, you said. So,
When you're too alkaline, yeah.
Right, but then if you do the beets juice, that'll actually create hydrochloric.
That will help, yes. If you eat, butternut squash, you eat any of those alkaline substances, they neutralize the acidic putrefactive bacteria that digest animal cells. So you're going to reduce the digestion of any kind of meat, any kind of dairy, eggs, anything that's animal product, you're going to reduce. And that's supposed to be 90% of our digestion, animal product. We only have 10% available to digest things like tomatoes, which is a bland fruit, and but still has cellulose in it, and cucumber. We have enough to digest a little bit of that every day. But
So what would I mix with the butternut juicing it? I mean, should you
anything you want.
10% into your juice, or is that too
Well, when I did it in Colorado, I was able to get string beans, peas, and those are all good brain foods. And then the summer squash, the coconut I used, the acorn squash. And I got fresh parsley, cilantro, carrots, and celery. It was the bitter celery because they were the wild celery. And what else? And the cucumber. So probably the butternut squash was 25% of the juice.
Oh, really? So that was like carrot related, huh?
But I lowered the amount of carrot because of
right.
most of the time I have 30% carrot in my juice. But with the The butternut squash, I lowered it to like 10%. And the butternut squash was probably 25%.
Wow. So then, what about other vegetables? Just cook like red onions, if you crave those. So when you're craving something in it. The red
Yeah.
onions are
Like when I induced a tapeworm, after a good probably 10 days of activity, and I had no more constipation in my life, and I had suffered constipation for 56 years that I can remember. I was 58 years old at the time. And once I had that tapeworm, and it took me years to figure out how to induce one. So once I got it induced, I got this craving for onion. And I was in Vietnam at the time. I aspired it before I left here and went to Vietnam. And finally, when I was in Vietnam, I noticed it. Well, actually, I noticed it on the plane going over to Vietnam, that I had one little noodle. And, you know, a tapeworm is a section of thousands of worms. Each worm is just like shaped like a noodle, rectangular, and they attach to each other, you know, at these points. So they've got their heads and they've got their rear ends and they're pooping over each other and eating around each other's butts, you know, all this time. And that's the way a tapeworm lives. It's not one organism, it's a whole colony of the same worm living together. And I got this craving after about probably 10 days after having it. It's this craving for an onion. Who eats an onion like an apple? Well, I did. I ate the half onion. And then it repulsed me so bad I couldn't eat the other half. But that first half was so delicious like an apple. And within 6 hours, I shat out 50 feet or 47 feet of my tapeworm. I was sick. I was so angry. I spent all those years to get a tapeworm. And then I ate some onion and shat it. So I was not happy with my instinct, you know, at that time.
How did you induce it?
Pardon?
How did you induce a tapeworm?
I took a look at the studies on people who have tapeworms, and they're almost all children in third world countries, mostly in Africa, where they feed them toxic throwaway cereals like Purina and General Mills and General Foods. They create these philanthropic companies that are going to give food aid to other countries. So they have all these people send in millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then those companies buy their waste product cereals and dried food, and then they send it to these poor people and feed them the worst foods in the world, which are your cereals, which are high in acrylamides, and then powdered milk, which according to Pottinger is the worst food that you can feed anybody, creates the most diseases. So you've got these so-called philanthropic companies that are paying high prices to these rip-off companies like Purina and General Foods and General Mills, you know, for this junk cereal they can't sell here, and feed those people. So I realized that the tapeworm feeds on high carbohydrate foods when it's so excessive that the carbohydrate could actually dissolve and break down a body. So the tapeworm does not eat the intestines. It eats whatever's in the intestines if it's high in carbohydrate. And it does not occur in any tribes people, any third world people that eat meat. No tapeworm lives in a body that eats even 10% meat only. So I took raw milk and I fermented it for 21 days. I think it was 21. I have to go look at my records. It was 58, so that was a little while ago. Because I'm almost 60, you know, I'm working on my 65th year now, so it was 8 years ago. But anyway, I soaked it with maca root. And maca root is a high carbohydrate substance that's considered a superfood. Well, it's very high in carbohydrates. It's one of the most concentrated root vegetables in carbohydrates. So I figured if I fermented that in milk, it would break it down to a degree that it would absorb into my body very quickly and do damage. So I knew that if I were going to create a tapeworm to help, that would be, and my theory has always been, and I've proved many times, that all parasites exist already in human tissue, in animal tissue. And when they are necessary, they come out of hibernation, and they're just a part of every animal cell. So I proved that by having this, because I didn't walk barefoot in any African country. I was right here in the States, and I wasn't going barefoot anywhere where anybody's gotten any parasites, or especially tapeworms. So when I uncorked that substance, and went right like that, the alcohol was so strong that I'd over-fermented it. It actually burned my sinuses, gave me a headache for a day. And that's how strong it was. So the next day, I drank, rather than half a cup or a quarter of a cup, I drank 3 cups that day. So I went into massive hives. I had welts all over my body from the stump coming out. I had to get into a bath with tomato and cucumber in it, ground up, or I had to take tomato and cucumber slices every hour to keep from ripping my skin off. It itched so badly, and burned and itched at the same time. And then I was on a flight. 3 days later I was on a flight, or was it 2 days later I was on a flight going to Vietnam. So I had to carry these slices of tomato and cucumber on ice, and I'd go into the toilet every hour on the plane and rub those in to keep from going nuts, with itching. And then when I got to Vietnam, I was stuck in a Hanoi hotel for 3 more days just getting through that. And but I noticed the first noodle that was kind of swimming in the toilet, even before I landed in Hanoi. So, I realized that I had created it. Yes, my theory that they're all part of the body. I hadn't been exteriorly exposed to it. So, but then, after eating that onion and shatting, the 47, the reason I know it was 47 feet, because I was in a hotel room. This hotel room was $11.50 a day, American dollars, all wood, parquet floors, walls, ceiling, and furniture. Everything wood, gorgeous, $11.50 a day, phenomenal. And so I just pulled up the rug that was in the center, pushed the bed aside, and spread the tapeworm out on the floor and measured it. And they shrink very fast. In 24 hours, you'll take one of those noodles and it'll be exactly the shape of a piece of rice, a grain of rice. That can't get through your frickin' feet. So the whole concept is bizarre. That you can get it through your feet. Any kind of parasite through your feet. And most of these African people have calluses, they're inch to an inch and a half thick. Some of you have 2 inches thick if they're near a desert like the Sahara Desert. These people have 2-inch thick calluses. That's 90% dead tissue. Parasites are going to get through that dry environment. It's the most absurd crap that people buy from the medical profession there is. So about 10 days after I shouted, there was another little noodle floating in the toilet after I had a bowel movement. So I knew that I hadn't gotten rid of them completely. Then 6 weeks later, I just had a bowel movement, pooped out another 50 feet, and I measured it too. But it was 47 feet when I measured it, but with the shrinkage, I knew I'd probably lost about 3 feet, maybe more.
So what do you use the tapeworm for?
To clean my body of all that sugar. See, when I was a kid, I would eat Sugar Crisps, which were loaded and sweet already. I put 2 to 4 tablespoons of sugar in that with, skim milk, because that's what my mother bought, skim milk. No fat, very little fat in it. And I was bad as Hitler. I would put sugar on top of cake, with icing that thick. So I was a diabetic too, so I knew that would have been a lot to do with my lifelong experience of constipation. Now, when I started eating a raw diet, I had bowel movements every day instead of once every 3 to 5 and 6 days when I normally had a bowel movement. And when it would come out, it'd be so big that it ripped my rectum. So by the time I was 21 years old, my rectal area was an inch thick with scar tissue. So no matter how small or large the fecal matter was, it tore my rectum every time. So I bled from the age of about 3 years old to the age of about 27. And still, even though I had bowel movements every day, the first part of that bowel movement could be as big as my fist and just as rough as granite. Then the rest would be very soft, and I could have a lot of bowel movement. I even go 3-4 times in a day. But that first one out was hard as rock and granite, caused me to bleed. After I had the tapeworm, I haven't bled since. That was from 58 to nearly 65 here.
Would it eat the,
I've not bled one time since that tapeworm.
what does it eat, the sugar or?
I think my body started throwing off the sugar, and that I had eaten enough of it to cause the parasites. So as soon as the tapeworm was in my system was able to dump the toxic carbohydrates that were built into my intestinal walls from all those years. If I hadn't had the vagotomy, I probably would have had enough hydrochloric acid to break that intestinal wall down to where it wouldn't have taken me till I was 58 years old to do it. But I have no hydrochloric acid in my stomach. I just have that little bit that secretes in the intestinal tract, small intestines. So that's the only reason I can figure out what happened.
So do you keep them around, you still have them?
No, after that 6 weeks, I
That's
never
it?
seen him again. That's it.
That's that completed sugar?
Well, that was a total of about almost 8 weeks.
So did a
that I
sugar
had it.
detox? They ate the sugar malt?
Pardon?
Is that like a sugar detox? Did
I
you
think it
mention-
was an intestinal carbohydrate detox.
Did you
Intestinal
mention-
wall.
Did you mention fermenting foods? I mean, this is maybe one of the ones just answer my question. To detox sugar, you would have fermented sugar cane juice, or you would ferment the food that you're toxic with.
Yeah, I mean, how many people eat sugar beets every day? You know, I eat cereals every freaking day. You know, sometimes boxes. When I got away from home, I'd eat 1 or 2 of those boxes a day. Or I'd take sugar powder, powdered donuts, that and RC Cola or Sprite.
I needed sugar.
When I first got the cancer and and I had, all my teeth were dangling because the radiation therapy damaged all the bone around my teeth, and I was bleeding badly. Just biting my own teeth, I could lose half of blood in 30 minutes. So I started liquefying everything, so I'd take the powdered donuts and blend it with Sprite. And, drink it out of big straws like that. Let me tell you, after you have chemo and radiation, everything tastes like postage stamp glue and cardboard.
Yeah, you're really...
So it didn't matter. But when I got a hold of the raw milk and the raw carrot juice, it had flavor, and it was delicious and rich. So that's the only reason I ate it, because it was enjoyable.
That's how you converted out of being a junkie?
Yeah,
You had some carrot juice and milk?
raw milk. Yeah, one of the volunteers from the hospice, I refused to go to the hospice, so they came to help me. And the young 18-year-old African-American boy, I don't know where he got this knowledge, turned me on to the raw carrot juice and raw milk. Changed my life. Yeah. He was there to help me go in peace, and he helped me live. Any other questions?
I just had a comment. I've had my blood analyzed, and I can say about parasites. I had worm. I think everybody has worms in their blood.
If they're lucky.
Yeah.
The quickest janitors, they can eat 100 times their weight in 24 hours and reduce it to 2 to 5% waste or 1 to 5% waste. I always want a janitor who reduces my waste from 100 pounds to 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So how
That's a
many
good
parasites
diameter.
should you have in your colon? I mean,
Pardon?
So what parasites should be at your colon? Any?
Trichinosis is the main one that belongs in the human. Almost all tribes on the planet have trichinosis. And according to Dr. Joel Weinstock, if you look up the references in my book, the recipe book for living without disease, I talked about Joel Weinstock, how 28 years ago he saw the pigs at the university that were in a sterilized environment and the perfect scientific food for pigs according to agricultural developments. And these pigs were very sick. And then the ones at the farm, he grew up on a farm. He was a gastroenterologist at the University of Utah. The pigs, they were wallowing around and eating their, mix their food in with their feces and urine and the mud. They were all healthy. So he looked at the difference in them gastroanatomically and found that the only difference in the two pigs were that the pigs at the farm in the slop had trichinosis, had the whipworm in the intestines. And the whipworm eats food, it does not eat the tissue of the pig. So he took the whipworm from the pigs at the farm and induced it to spike the pigs at the university. And in 5 days they were healthy and well. So he got a license 6 years later to do it with humans from the FDA. And the FDA said, you can do it on 6 people. They all have to have suffered for a minimum of 10 years without success with inflammatory bowel disease. So he picked people who had suffered from 10 to 32 years. If they drank water, they either got diarrhea, severe cramps, or vomiting. No matter what they ate, they had a severe reaction to whatever they ate. And he spiked them with the whipworm, and in 5 days, 5 of them were completely asymptomatic. They could eat anything with no symptoms whatsoever. One fellow, he said he didn't have a change, however, he seemed much better spirited, but he said he didn't have any change to the better or worse. So he didn't suffer from it, but he said he didn't gain from it either. But the other 5 did. And they ate the same slop that everybody else does. So in 5 months they were back knocking on Joel Weinstock's door saying, we want some more trichinosis. And we've been taught, since children, trichinosis is the worst thing you get. Cook your pork until it's burned, to keep from trichinosis. Why? Because trichinosis helps you digest fast and quickly. Get healthier quicker. So we are ingrained with a lot of bad information, wrong information. And I tell everybody, whatever you hear from the medical profession, whether it's pharmaceutical or a doctor or news, whatever it is, do just the opposite. And 99 times out of 100, you will be right. Oh, and I did another test. Every year I go to life screenings and have the carotid arteries checked for plaque, because I've had plaque on the right artery since I was about 12 years old. So I go every year and have all of their tests done, make sure my cholesterol is above, very high, and that my triglycerides are very high, because high triglycerides, if you're on a good diet, means you're throwing off a lot of trans fatty acids from all those years of eating cooked foods. So I want my triglycerides to be high. Yet the HDL and the LDL are perfect. The bad cholesterols are very, very low, and the good cholesterols are very, very high. And yet all these triglycerides, it confuses the shit out of them. It's just the way I want it. So this last year period, I said I'm going to go in and see what I can do to get the carotid artery clean. And they've taken it for the last probably 12 years. I didn't clean it. So for the last year, I started eating more vinegar on a regular basis and the clay, sometimes together. And I went 2 or 3 weeks ago, carotid artery, because they always send me backups. They should send me the photograph showing me how thick it is on the carotid artery, how the plaquing is, and that I need to follow up with a doctor, and just to make sure it doesn't increase too much, where I have, a heart disease or a stroke or something like that. And this time I got the report back, normal. In 1 year I cleaned it out, just by focusing on eating the vinegar in milk mainly, where there's high minerals.
Is that like raw apple cider vinegar?
Raw apple cider vinegar. What I was doing is putting in 2 to 4 ounces of raw milk. That way I could have it every day and would not have to worry about demineralization. So you have to be careful with apple cider vinegar. It can cause bone loss. I've watched a lot of elderly people who eat it, to keep their blood clean, and drives them, and it gives them lots of energy. I watched their spines deteriorate, and I was always sure that it was so much vinegar that they were having. And so I had mine in milk to prevent from mineral loss. And yet it went in and cleared in 1 year. In 1 year, cleared.
Because I was told to drink raw apple cider vinegar, but I can only take it so many days, and then I stop drinking it. My body doesn't want it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
So I should drink it in milk if I'm going to
drink it in milk if you want to. Yeah, but you have to drink it pretty soon after you mix it, or else it'll curdle.
Yeah.
The vinegar will cause it to curdle.
Okay.
So, carotid artery from 12 years old. 1 year I took care of it in my 64th year. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I ordered some raw eastern oysters, and they come with a plastic container with an aluminum top. I saw that, I thought, well, maybe that isn't such a good thing.
Are the oysters shucked in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, very bad. The only way you could probably remedy is because Chairman has a lot of natural aluminum in it, and it would bind with the aluminum in that, so you'd have to sprinkle, some of that, or take some of the already moist and mix it in that soup. So you'd have a little bit of graininess in there, but it would chelate with that aluminum so it didn't bind in your body. Wouldn't be absorbed into your body.
Well, what about in the container? Because I know one of them, and you can get some oysters at Vaughn's, they come in a glass container, which I thought that was better.
That would be better. If they don't heat them, you have to call the manufacturer, make sure they don't, blanch them.
Okay.
Because a lot of times they'll blanch them, that means partially cook them.
You can get them at the farmer's market from Chuck. Fresh.
But he doesn't want to shuck them. He wants.
All foods will chuck it for you.
They're easy.
Yeah, they'll chuck it for me, that's true. I go there, the guy's a lot better than I am at chucking, I'll say that much.
You know the easiest way to open it up? Just take a pair of pliers and just break the end of it off, and then it goes right in. There's no pushing. It's easy as pie.
Well, where's your exercise, Joseph?
I know somebody that thinks he's doing a wonderful job of hydrating himself by buying coconut water by the case, which cannot be very good if it's packaged.
Well, coconut water is water anyway. It doesn't matter if it's from the coconut. It's water.
So it's not a lot more different than water.
No.
Why is it so delicious?
It does have a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah, but it's basically water.
Yeah. But I've seen a lot of people cause muscle cramping from drinking a lot of it.
Yeah, I know you don't.
The women in Asia will only drink 8 ounces a day, or it causes them to bloat and swell.
Yeah,
Is that coconut water?
Coconut water, yeah.
So the stuff they're selling in those cans now, what's that?
Well, it's got to be pasteurized, and then there's probably some chemicals
Well,
in
you don't
there.
have to pasteurize that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Nothing bacterial in it. No bacteria.
So it's not
That's why I say it's like water.
I can't imagine that it would taste like fresh coconut juice.
Don't know. I won't drink
I
it.
mean, coconut juice is quite delicious.
I mean, coconut water.
Yeah, I mean, right out of the fresh coconut. I mean, I don't drink it, but I just sip a little bit.
Sometimes when I'm low on milk, I'll mix half of that with half of milk and water, coconut water,
Yeah.
but I sip it very slowly.
Yeah.
Very slowly. Any other questions?
Yeah. I go to Tecate once a month, and we have a guy that takes care of elderly guys, and he's got,
Talking about Mexico?
yeah,
Okay.
and we built a barn for him, and we're gonna get him a milk cow.
Is he going to live in the barn, or the cow going to live in the house? Or?
No, out by the barn.
Uh-huh.
But all it is a bunch of boulders around there, and what would be the best thing to feed it? Hay?
Cow? You know, they live on grasses and
I know.
herbs, you know.
There's not gonna be any grass here.
Just have to hope he gets good hay that doesn't have toxins in it, doesn't have herbicides and all that.
Okay.
It's going to be hard to find.
Huh.
Almost non-existent now with the push from Monsanto and Dow.
A GMO, yeah.
Well, not only that, I mean, just non-chemically raised alfalfa or any of it. I mean, you might find, you know, a few farmers in the Amish or Mennonite country, Quaker country, that still do it, but a lot of them are going to the chemical raising too. When I was in Pennsylvania 3 months ago, I found that they were spraying pesticides. The Amish were spraying pesticides now.
On what?
You know, so on everything.
Oh, they're...
Yeah. So I've got these pockets of Amish farmers around these other Amish farmers that are doing now traditional agriculture, garbage farming. Almost
So
impossible.
they're going
That's what
away
Dow
from their Amish ways and
Oh
moving
yeah,
more civilized.
almost completely. And with the FDA going after them in the last few months, they're all going to. They don't fight. They won't fight the government. They won't sue the government. I have to do it for them.
What about valley fever, for one from the left field? Guy at work, I guess, got valley fever.
I don't know what valley fever is. Does that mean you lived in San Bernardino Valley? Too many shopping malls got them.
Common, it's I guess, a spore. It's very common in Arizona. At least that's what, 5,000 cases a year. And,
What are the symptoms? Are they consistent or is it a hodgepodge?
I'm not that familiar. But just that the guy, he got in his eye, so they did surgery on his eye. It sounded really hard. So I just spore.
Let me tell you, all this nonsense like Lyme disease, when you have to do 5 tests to maybe say you've got Lyme's, they don't even know what the hell they're looking for. You know, now they're saying it's a spirochete. We've had spirochetes for ages. All of a sudden now we're going to blame a tick for our disease. No, it's every disease that exists is industrial chemicals, period. And when they get into the body, they'll do differently in different people. And sometimes you have steady symptoms, but almost every disease will create similar symptoms.
So you don't think it's a spore? Because supposedly it's a spore got into the lungs like tuberculosis.
Okay. Say you have a spore. Why would you have a spore? Why would a spore incubate in animal tissue? The spore is a fungus. It's the seed of a fungus. What does fungus feed on?
Dead roots.
Dead roots. And almost everything. Or dead substances that bacteria get, like cheeses. Dehydrated cheese will, because there's no active enzymes in cheese, a fungus has to break it down. Bacteria won't, parasites won't, because it's already too dehydrated. You can get, if you have a soft cheese and enough fluid in it to make it mushy, you can get maggots to grow and certain worms to grow in it. But not in a hard cheese. It takes a fungus to break it down completely. So why would they have a spore in their lung? What is there that it needs to feed on? So it isn't the spore that's the problem. It's there's a janitor. It's whatever's broken down the tissue in the lung. Blaming it on a spore is like blaming the janitors who are there to clean up the mess. It's not a fact. You know, you have to find out what broke down the tissue on which the fungus is feeding. Now, it has to be something very, very toxic, because the body's first choices are, and the lungs are always fluid. They're not dried out like cheese. So the tissue in the lung must either be highly poisoned, so poisonous that a parasite and bacteria will not break those cells down as janitors. It's leaving it to a fungus. So it has to be pretty advanced damage and toxins in that lung to create that. It's not the spore that's the problem, it's the damage in the lungs. So you have to look at all those cases that utilize that particular fungus to break down that specific tissue in their lungs. That's what you have to find out, is that's the culprit. You need to investigate there. Them going and giving you an antibiotic to destroy the fungus is stopping the cure. And therefore they're just going to be sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker for their whole lives, and constantly take this antibiotic for their whole lives and get weaker every time, because every 5 days of an antibiotic, oral antibiotic, you're destroying 1% of the body's whole functionality. And we're 150 bacterial genes to one human gene. So think about all the bacteria you're destroying. And those antibiotics aren't specific to any bacteria. They annihilate all without question. It's like setting an atomic bomb. It doesn't get the military people, it gets everybody and everything. And it's bad. So the valley fever is just another name for industrial toxicity being blamed on some spore, some fungus.
It gets in the eyes, though.
Pardon?
Gets into an eye.
It doesn't get into an eye. You've got the same toxicity in the eyes, too. You can have it anywhere in the body. Let's say if you have the breakdown, and that spore starts feeding on the damaged tissue in the eye, because bacteria can. Usually parasites aren't ever found in an eye, so that's not a janitorial system for an eye, unless the body's completely dead. But fungus and bacteria work in the eyes. Virus can work in the eye. But viruses aren't alive, as the myth is now.
Aajonus, do you think that maybe parasites and bacteria and viruses and all that, do you believe in spontaneous generation?
Yes. So I said they're all a part of every animal cell.
So they're just kind of like a part
They're
of...
there waiting to be a help, if they're necessary.
Because I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
The book Toxemia Explained.
Well, the first time I saw spontaneous anything, this Indian doctor, scientist, had isolated a little, what do they call that? Like an aquarium environment, only it had its natural flow of water only, and there were no bacteria, there were no parasites, there was bacteria, but there were no creatures or no flies, no insects or anything in this environment. He went through many years to set this up, and a fly spontaneously appeared almost mature in that environment. It didn't go from an egg to a pulpa to its fly form. It just appeared manifest. And he had the cameras going on all the time, and it just appears on this rock. It's like that. So that was the first proof I had of such a thing. And their theories, it time traveled into, the future.
From a parallel universe.
That may be true, but, it still was spontaneous.
It was from a parallel universe.
Yeah, right, yes. So there is spontaneous, appearance. People ask me about evolution. People think I'm an idiot because I don't embrace, evolution. I take a look at everything. I said, wait a minute. If you got a link, you're going to have all the things involved. You're not going to have one species here and just the jump between them. You're going to have all the links in between thriving as the same. So this whole idea that, that we evolved from this and, we all have similarities, yes, and we may have had, we're all on the same planet where the microcosm and the macrocosm are almost identical. So why not spontaneous, development or, existence? So I don't have enough proof to believe in the evolution, and I say, who gives a shit whether evolution is true or not? It doesn't matter. Deal with what's here.
That's why they've never found
But
the
you're
missing
now.
link.
Because there is no missing link. What time are we?
We're done earlier today. We usually
4:20.
5.
Pardon?
We usually go until 5, but we usually have more questions.
Yeah, but we get started at 3 o'clock usually.
Yeah.
This time we started at 2:30.
We finish eating early, everything.
Yeah. Well, we're such a small little nice group here. So anybody have one last question for the last 5 minutes?
Things to me seem to sort of pass through. They don't digest. I don't digest my food that great. And is there anything I can do to try to improve my digestion?
Well, 90% of digestion is supposed to be bacterial. We eat the feces, urine, and sweat of bacteria. When they've eaten the food, that's our food. Absorb it. You just need to make sure you're not eating vegetables. I would filter your juice if you make juice. Filter it to make sure you're not getting any cellulose moving through the intestines, neutralizing what little bacteria you have. And so it's all absorbed there, and there's no cellulose particles passing through to neutralize the acidic bacteria and the acidic digestive juices. Eating high meats, anything, fermented, anything with high bacteria. Also, I noticed that in my last 2 years of working with people to increase real probiotics by using the Terramin clay pre-soaked for at least 4 days in a little slightly fermented, at least warm milk, helps generate good bacteria for digestion.
What about sauerkraut?
Sauerkraut is in its acid, but it's a vegetable acid. So it's a tendency to wipe out putrefactive bacteria that we use to digest meats and animal cells, whether it's eggs, meat, or dairy.
So the probiotics in sauerkraut is not necessarily...
It's not for herbivore. It's not for carnivores.
Right.
It's for people like Sally Fallon who eat cooked foods.
Okay.
It'll help replace some enzymes and give you some digestive acids to handle her cooked vegetables and cooked grains.
Okay.
But it's not for a meat, a primal diet.
Not for primal diet. But if you're eating mostly raw vegetables, then it's helpful to have sauerkraut and
Yeah, it
for
would be helpful,
example,
yeah.
for digestion.
Wouldn't yogurt and kefir give you the good bacteria?
Yes, that's animal product.
If it's
Yes.
raw.
That's what I'm saying, but if you want to incite bacteria, see, all animals suck dirt up. Everything they eat. There's dirt in everything they eat. Yet we don't have dirt in anything. And I think that's a big part of digestion. In my last 2 years of working with it, it does improve digestion to have that Terramin clay pre-soaked for at least 4 days and then added to some slightly fermented milk.
How do you spell that clay?
Terramin.
Okay.
And get the Terra Silk for eating. Terra Silk and the other is just a finer mesh that they've sifted through, so it's a finer clay.
how often should you put that in your bath or ever? A clay bath, that should
Well,
dry you out too?
now that I'm in municipal water, I put it almost every
Because
time.
it'll pull some of it,
I put a level tablespoon in a bathtub.
along with the milk and the other stuff too?
Yep.
Won't it clump up with the milk and stuff? No,
Yeah.
I mean like whole...
It's all, just separate it all.
So what is the purpose of the milk then to,
The milk is to bind with certain poisons that are in the water.
and the clay will do a different type of,
Yeah, they'll do different ones.
like fluoride? Is that
So you just put the dry
Well, the fluoride is neutralized mostly by the calcium, phosphorus, potassium, and magnesium in the milk.
That's true, yeah.
But some of the heavier things like copper and iron and uranium will be locked with the clay.
So is everything between those two detoxifying from getting into your water?
Well,
You think some still floating?
I think there's some, well, in my experiments, vinegar also helped with some of
So
the,
what are you putting? I mean, you have all these choices now. I mean, sometimes you can do a honey and cream bath, you can do coconut cream, you can do clay, you can do... How do you decide which one you're going to alternate? Do you have methods?
well, when I use all of them, I use all of them.
All of them,
you know,
so
but-
they don't conflict with each other. I wonder, sometimes I go, well, should I do a honey and milk bath, or should I do,
I never do a honey bath. I'm not
Somebody
gonna
says
waste
about
my-
honey, because...
I'm not gonna waste my honey that way.
It would like make your skin softer, or be good for you. Because it gets
Well, you put a little bit of honey and some, some butter and bone marrow or something and rub it into your skin.
Yeah.
To me, it would be a huge waste
Yeah,
of
you can just put it
that.
on your skin raw with a little bit of what...
And anyway, it could be a carrier of the poisons into my skin. I wouldn't want honey from
Would
that.
it? Would it?
It would help open up the cells, and I wouldn't want them opened to draw in some toxins. I want to sweat it all out in the bathtub, so I'd never put honey
Yeah, because you
in.
talked about once you wanted me to do a test where I put honey on my skin with saliva.
Yeah.
Did you continue that experiment? Or
Yeah, it still works. It's very helpful.
and that's to get rid of what, radiation or anything?
No, that was just to help the skin come to life.
So what do you do for radiation on the skin?
Pardon?
What do you do for radiation on the skin?
Well, radiation, I use the clay.
That's coming out?
Well, you can use the clay and milk, which is one of the best. And then to soothe from the radiation, you can use aloe vera gel. Not from the stores, right from the plant.
So when you're turning red, is that a good sign that there's radiation coming out, or have you noticed?
Not necessarily. If you get it directly from the sun, it's radiation you've absorbed, and your
That you
body
want.
is now going to take the time to convert that radiation into vitamin D if you have the right fats on the skin.
But some people are really red, without being in the sun. Is that radiation? I mean, like how you look at people and you say, oh, I can tell you're doing it. Like, well, I can tell you're eating this by looking at you. I can
Well, it
tell you're
depends.
not
Some
eating
people have very red skin because they have allergies to something.
this.
And the blood is trying to push it out the skin, like people with the rosacea. Very, very toxic.
Well, I'm always kind of red too, so that's why I wonder if that's, how do you know the difference between tanning, radiation, or detox of toxins coming out?
The way the skin is irritated or not irritated.
Also, if it's not irritated, it's probably just sun.
The sun
That's
trying
healthy.
to
That's a
convert.
healthy thing. Everybody's trying to fight being in the sun, but I never did. But you're saying that's good, the sun
That's
radiation?
very good, yeah.
Because it's detox, and you said it's like a detox for old radiation too, the sun?
It can help with old radiation in the body, yes.
So like if you're nuclear...
Well, it's the vitamin D. So you get the radiation, it's absorbed into the skin. It's usually red until it's mixed with the fats in the skin. Once it's mixed with the fats in the skin, it has been converted into vitamin D, and then it tans the skin unless the body absorbs all that vitamin D in a few hours. And there's people who do absorb the vitamin D just like that.
So do you not feel that we really aren't getting wrinkled from the sun, we're getting wrinkled from lack of fat?
Lack of fats,
So the
absolutely.
sun, but
yeah.
people get...
If people were wrinkled from the sun, Africans wouldn't have the most beautiful freaking black skin on the planet. You know?
Yeah, right.
They'd all be wrinkled.
And all these, I have a lot of girlfriends that are like, they're very white. And they're like, no, I wear a hat, I wear sunscreen, I wear sunglasses. I'm like, take that off. They're like, no, I fry. And I'm like, well, I guess maybe you would, because you don't have any nutrients in your
Yeah,
body.
there's
or
no fat, yeah.
So you just wouldn't.
They will burn.
Burn up crisp.
Yeah.
But
Burn
you
and
know,
peel.
that's been all, you're still in the sun, you know, I mean, general, even nutrition people still feel like you should, some of them like don't.
Well, when they bought the crap from Ronald Reagan,
Finally, just-
that, you know, the sun gave him his nose cancer,
Is that where it started?
yeah, and I said, no, you just hit his butt up his, George Bush's butt, that's where he got cancer.
Then how much would you recommend the sun? That's something I was wondering. How long you
It all depends upon the person.
each person?
Yeah.
So if you like it, have as much as you want?
Yeah, as long as you don't burn and peel. And if you start to burn and peel, you just put milk on. Every few hours, put milk on. You get a little sticky, but it will help convert the vitamin D or pull the radiation out of the system. That's too much radiation. Can't get converted.
So you do a lot of sun still too?
When I'm in Asia, I do a lot of sun. I usually do 2 hours a week in the sun, in one stretch, 2 hours. I have a massage done in the sun. I have butter and bone marrow rubbed into my body while I'm in the sun. So I get my 2 hours that way. And then when I'm in Asia, I get it every day, you know, almost all day long.
So is it true that the ozone's not as thick and that's giving us negative radiation, or is that just all kind of...
Again, that's a marketing device to get people to buy certain things, to do certain things.
Yeah.
You know, our ozone comes and goes and vacillates with our atmosphere. And global warming, certainly a certain amount of it has to do with industry and bad gases in the air, but that's not causing, you know, the Earth shift and the melting of the poles. We go through this every 26,000 years. When the sun starts producing, you know, right now the sun is broadcasting its sunstorms, its, you know, radiation storms out 9 million miles farther than it normally does. And this will go on through 2017. And there's going to be a lot of, you know, there's going to be snowstorms to balance that. There's going to be all kinds of things going on. And then the military is getting involved in it with their HARP and making it worse, making it faster. So, I mean, that is from that. That's from the sun's activity. That's not from here. But they're marketing it, you know. And what they did was get everybody to buy these poison light bulbs. They're full of mercury.
I know, it's so
You
ridiculous.
break one in your home,
I know.
and you have to have a
No.
$3,000 to $6,000 company come in and clean out your whole house.
But they can inject you with it.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
about a fire, like the big fires we've had? How many mercury those go?
Oh,
Oh, that's so
tons.
toxic. Yeah.
She got very sick, and she's still recuperating from
I
that.
was trapped in that for
Yeah.
a week.
And she got very sick from it. Had very many problems for several years.
Well, it set off a bunch of other detox too, because I was so overloaded. Then the mercury.
Well,
and all the
you
other
stayed
stuff.
here when I asked you to go, and
No, I
knew
left.
I was going to do
I
it.
left. I went to Laguna, and then I got...
But that wasn't far enough.
Where should I
You need
go?
to get out of town completely.
Yeah, where should I get that?
Away from the fires
I got
altogether.
trapped though. They closed the roads both directions, and I couldn't leave.
But I mean, you got very sick from that for years.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I had quite a few patients down here the same way.
Serious, like I couldn't...
This is from the
Very
fire
I was paralyzed.
in
The fires.
2007, then?
Yeah.
2 years
Those fires,
ago.
yeah.
They evacuated the neighborhood. I got it, but I didn't get out far enough.
But I mean, I was on the road out town and I saw the cloud coming. That was it. I got out. I got on a plane and I went to another city, got far away from it. I knew what it would have done to me. I'd have been crippled like you were.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
So the radiation thing, he never really kind of fully answered his one question. That's why I kind of come back to about the radiation from Japan or whatever.
Well, like I said in my newsletter that I put out, not newsletter, but that email I put out, you put clay in your milk.
Well, that's not my question, actually. That amount of radiation is just adding more to our chronic buildup in our system?
Yes, unless you're using the moist Terramin clay and putting it in your
So
milk.
that's really the only real effect, is that we're accumulating more genetically or whatever.
And what that'll do is give you cancer sooner or worse
So
cancer
it's
when
more
you get it.
toxicity, basically. Do you think that if we're doing that, that's enough to mitigate it? How accelerated do you think it really is?
Well, I think I'm taking care of mine because I have clay in almost every bit of milk I drink.
Because I know I feel like this way I could tell, I feel like there's like a, and I don't know if it's just the sun, but the radiation, I almost like there's a little more of a tinge of like a burning feeling.
I used to get that before I started using the clay.
And I
Now it
wondered
doesn't
if that
bother
was
me.
from internal or external or both, probably both. So that's how you know. So I was just curious if that, is that enough to offset the
Pardon?
level, is that enough to offset the level that's been dumped?
I think so. It's
Nobody knows.
working for me.
But they can't really read how much it is, can they? Somebody can read the amount of radiation that came from it.
Well, there are different people who are testing it. Like I saw a test that was done on some tuna coming from Fukushima, because there is a belt where the tuna goes that is almost a complete pattern that is normal. Are you looking for it?
No, I just looking at
Recorder. It's normal migration, the tuna, and they measured the amount of radiation, and it was like 1,200 times normal. So you better make sure your tuna's from Fiji or the Hawaiian Islands or somewhere like that, not between here and directly between here and Japan.
Now, does that radiation multiply heavy metal toxicity too? I mean, it's like...
Well, it just compounds the problem. If you've got a lot of free radicals, it'll cause damage. And then the more damage you have, the more your nutrients have to be spent on correcting the damage. So it isn't that one compounds the other, indirectly, but directly, but indirectly they do.
That's the number one question people ask that come in to see me, where I talk to everybody, like, well, how bad is it?
Well, it's like people say, can I eat just, one cooked meal a day? And I said, you can eat all cooked for all I care. I'm not your body. That's up to you. You have to be happy with your life. And if you eat one raw food your whole life, you're adding nutrients to it. Bravo for your body. So it's up to you what degree you want. And if you think that you're bigger, than radiation, and, think that you're going to overpower radiation, and radiation will have effect on you, I hope you're right.
So how do we know, like sushi restaurants? Will the government, because the government is for the nuclear industry, let them give it to us and we won't know?
I don't eat at sushi bars anymore in Los Angeles or anywhere in a big city.
Because of Fukushima?
No, because they chemicalize it. They put MSG on it, and they do all kinds of chemicals, because they have to fit the rules of your local health department, and that's the rules at the FDA. And that is that you have to put some chemical on it to destroy bacteria.
So you're not going to get...
Every time I've gone to a sushi bar in the past 6 years, I've gotten sick. In Los Angeles or big cities. I can go, overseas and get sushi served outdoors, right off the boats. I know that's safe. I don't have to worry about that. I see what they're doing to it. And I never get an ill reaction. But the third time I saw sick in a month by going to one of the best sushi bars in Los Angeles and getting sick, MSG kind of sick, headaches, nausea, weakness.
Which bar was that?
That was it.
Which one was that?
It was the one in that loop in the Venice Square. Hama, what is it? Yeah, something Hama. Forgotten. I used to go to all. Never knew any of the names of any of these restaurants that I go, because I knew where they are. That's all I
What
knew.
happens to you when
But how about they say they don't have it, they don't use MSG?
I don't believe them. If I get a reaction, I know they're lying to me. Their supplier could be putting it on and they're not.
We do not use MSG.
So
I was told it's in the sauce. It's in the soy sauce.
Uh-huh.
it can be in anything. They want to preserve because it's a preservative. They spray on salad bars on the salads.
Right.
It's already in it, yeah. They say we don't add it, that's a good point, Brenda. They say we don't add.
Yes,
It's already in there.
they don't put any
It's
on,
already in
they
there.
don't use it.
Yeah, but
It's
that's
already
already
incorporated into food.
It's already there, yeah.
When they buy it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all these vitamin companies, they say, oh, we're just purely natural.
And natural.
We get ours is from food, so what the producers don't know is they go to a lab and ask the lab if they will make that for them, and the lab wants the job, and they just don't tell the whole story to the manufacturer, and they said, yeah, we'll make it all from food. But where does the lab get those food substances to process? If they go to a farmer and get it, it's going to cost you $1,000 a pill. So they go to Purina, General Mills, General Foods, and they buy their waste product. And then they use kerosene derivatives. Kerosene is natural, so it's all natural. So they use kerosene to separate, to isolate what they want and call it a vitamin.
But it was you that told us that from filmmaking the development fluid?
Developing fluid is what they use for 95% of all vitamin E.
Because it costs us so much to get rid of it that they finally found a close relationship.
To selling it. Get people to eat it. It is really only it looks 70% the molecular structure of vitamin E. But looking 70% doesn't make it vitamin E, but the FDA buys it.
Well, if it's a supplement, it's not real food anyway.
That's
No
right.
matter where it came from.
That's what I'm saying. Once it's altered, it isn't food in the first
It's
place.
not that carrot, it's not that cow, it's...
So all of the food junk that they bought from Purina or General Foods or General Mills has already been heat treated. It's been treated with all kinds of chemicals, but that lab won't add any. They won't use any chemical. They won't use anything unnatural. Kerosene's natural. But how many of you would soak your foods for 30 minutes in kerosene, rinse it off for 15, 45 seconds, and eat it, and not have it etched into your food? We're not that stupid, so you just have to see what the laboratories do to make these natural vitamins, and you find out how unnatural they are. Okay, folks, we've done it.
Yes.